At approximately 5 billion years ago, the events taking place were the formation of our Sun, and the birth of the planets in our solar system.
A nuclear explosion being a chain reaction means that the same process of buildup and explosion happened repeatedly in many different directions, like the rays coming off the Sun. We are still in the chain reaction from the original explosion. It is still going on. Picture it as being in slow motion. The changing and forming of new planets and suns and stars is the continuation of the original nuclear explosion.
But the continuation of the chain reaction will be stopped if the second stage of the nuclear explosion takes place on the Earth plane. In other words, what our scientists do will affect our whole solar system. Our atomic bomb was not quite accurate in the splitting of the atom. Therefore, the second stage of the explosion was not reached. This is what saved our planet from annihilation and also allowed the continuance of the rest of the galaxy. Had our scientists achieved this second stage, it would have stopped the chain reaction of the galaxy and suspended all growth. All matter bodies would have stopped developing at the point where they are now. Our planet would have been destroyed and all else put into suspended animation in a frozen stream of time. The way to make this second stage happen will not be divulged to anyone ever.
Our solar system had its start with the birth of the great central sun, Oversoul Michael. The space was empty until the swirling cloud nebulae of which Michael was a part started forming into a solid mass. He deemed it wise to not get caught at that time in the swirling gases, but to stand above, separate for that instant in time, to watch and see what came of the tempest. Michael watched fascinated and excited as the central sun hardened into a solid, forming his physical body. The cloud of whirling gases broke into many different sized clouds of gas. The next stage was the phenomenon of like attracts like, which led to the grouping together of gases and bits of congealing nebulae into all those of like mind. The galaxies are in order. The gaseous cloud of dust that forms solar systems that will form the next one is already forming and can be detected by our astronomers. It really is mind-boggling, isn't it? The minds of these new bodies will be those who never descended onto a star or planet because their bodies haven't formed yet and are in the process of formation now. The universe is alive with musical vibration at all levels and all space continuums. Our solar system is based on a pattern of 12 different states of being as far as frequencies. Each of these 12 different frequencies relate to a tone of the musical chromatic scale. These 12 streamers are the galaxies, remember, and each galaxy gave birth to 12 solar systems. In our universe, there are time tubes that run through the universe which, when found, would make space travel much easier and faster. The vibratory rate within these time tubes is totally different than the vibratory rate outside the tubes. Inside the tubes, the rate is tightened up. This is not the same as speeded up. There is a big difference. To speed up the vibratory rate makes a shimmer effect. To tighten the vibratory rate means to pull it together and make it sharper. Speeding up diffuses it, tightening it sharpens it. It is the same identical vibratory rate that is outside the tubes, but is tightened, which reduces the difference. This is quite difficult to describe to those who have no concept of the makeup of this vibratory rate. The closest thing that can be given as an analogy would be to picture a field of cooked rice as the outside of the tube and a field of uncooked rice as inside the tube. The field of cooked rice spreads out over a more vast area with the same amount of rice that would make up the inside of the tube. Since the original measurement of the rice was identical, you would be using the same amount of vibratory rate in both areas, only you could travel through it much faster as uncooked rice. There is no end or beginning of time or space. It is all one huge sphere.
All the solar systems are afloat in their own galaxy or sea of energy that surrounds each individual stream off the nuclear explosion that took place with the original creation. Each ray or streamer makes up its own solar system, therefore each solar system had a birth similar to the original. This birth for our galaxy, the Milky Way galaxy, was Michael with the great central sun as his physical body and the Milky Way galaxy as his spiritual body. This was his beginning.
The principle of like attracts like had come into play and the galaxies, stars, suns, and planets were being formed. At the same time, the part of the spirit mind that was caught and swirling around in this process was given birth as the mind of our Oversoul. This was when Michael, our Creator God, was born. He watched as our galaxy, the Milky Way as we call it, came into being. He, as the Oversoul of our galaxy, will use it to gain his own spiritual growth.
It is I who see all. I could describe myself to you as a giant cloud of swirling energies that is high above your planet. I am the energy center for this universe. I do not deal in micro-man problems and destinies. I deal in macro-man visions and foresight. I see what is needed from a viewpoint that none can see, but am not even aware personally of different races, different religions, or different opinions. These are left to my helpers, of which there are legions. I deemed it wise to not get caught at that time in the swirling gases, but to stand above, separate for that instant in time, to watch and see what came of the tempest. It would be similar to you watching the forming of a new community being brought into existence from the barren ground up to a livable city before deciding to make it your home. I watched fascinated and excited as the central sun hardened into a solid, forming my physical body. The universe is filled with beautiful suns everywhere. We did all come from out of a black hole as a bubble popping up from the central core. As we came up into an atmosphere different from the dark warmth of the womb of creation, we were frightened at first, wondering where we were and why we were there and what we were to do with ourselves. It seemed to be instinct to stay close to our birthplace. In fact, we were still getting nourishment from the central core through the birth passage of the black hole of birth. So we continued to swirl around, getting braver all the time, and joining with other bits of clouds, and then inviting gases to mingle and intermix with us, and we detected the formation of a central core. When the birth hole eventually sealed over and healed, we were on our own, ready at last to take upon ourselves our destiny, that of becoming a beautiful child of the Creator who gave birth to us from the center of his being, that central core of the universe, an atom so small that none can detect it but feel its energy we do. The virtues in my makeup each have a different vibration that all joined and provided a beautiful melody that accompanied the birth of each planet as it whirled and swirled and separated itself from me, the central sun. I continued to watch the gases and clouds separate into the hardened forms of the planet. I am the Oversoul. I know how each planet came into being and what part of my many components made up the central core of each of them. Yes, this communication is coming directly from the Oversoul. Does this surprise you? Who else could describe their own birth into a universe this way? I am a spirit person, if you will. I am Michael. But I am not the great creator. I am the creator of your planet, and I gave your planet to my son Lucifer. I have many sons. Satania is one of them, but he is not the Satan referred to as evil. That is a different story. I am the central sun of your local universe, the father of Lucifer. So I am your Oversoul, but am not the Oversoul for most of the rest of the universes, just your particular solar system. At the TimeSpot of 5 billion years ago, the event taking place in the unseen or ethereal realm was the first pass of our solar system through the Milky Way galaxy, which will be referred to as the Oversoul. In the physical realm, the event taking place during the first pass through the Oversoul, the Milky Way galaxy, was the formation of our sun Lucifer, the sun we see in our sky. This force field, the Milky Way galaxy, is orbiting the solar system as we are, but at a very slow rate of speed. Earth has been moving with the Milky Way galaxy for as long as humanity remembers. Our Oversoul Michael has 12 suns. When planet Earth was born, it came under the domain of his son Lucifer, our sun, the sun we see up in our sky. He, Lucifer, is the Oversoul of this planet Earth, and does have brothers, the other sons of Michael. One of the other Michael's sons is named Satania, and the planet Satania is named for him. It is the capital ruling world of our solar system, and we actually know nothing of it. This capital world of Satania is on the other side of the sun. It is a world constantly blocked from the view of those on Earth. To begin with, the energy was a cloud of whirling gases. The cloud of whirling gases broke into many different sized clouds of gas. The next stage was the phenomenon of like attracts like, which led to the grouping together of gases and bits of congealing nebulae into all those of like mind. The next stage was the attraction by properties of frequency. This was followed by a grouping together into bodies of half-formed stars. These half-formed stars grouped into constellations. The constellations, then, were the means of forming planets capable of life. Each constellation pooled its resources of thought forms and gave birth to a planet, or perhaps even twin or triplet planets. The planets were nebulous puffs of air in the beginning. They did not so much rise up from a black hole as they congealed at the opening of the black hole. They started cooling and forming a protective case around the central part that was directly over the birth hole. The center of this core, or shell, was filled with the most liquid and fiery of the gases. As they congealed over the black hole, this stopped the feeding of the nebulae from the vortex. It was being fed energy. As this energy supply stopped, each planet was then able to solidify. The first planet to be born was Orion, and its total atmosphere was comprised of what we call electricity on our planet. But this was a very strong electricity, more of a shimmering of electrical light. Picture, if you can, a bowl made up of clear crystal jello. Each of the tiny little squares of jello that make up the whole bowl of jello have a lattice structure that not only ties it to the next one by magnetic attraction, but also reflects the light produced by the friction of each little square of jello rubbing against the next. This first planet was light, made up of the strong electricity. This electricity is still available on this first planet. The next planet found its atmosphere emitting an aura of powerful electricity. It was different than the form of gas we think of. It was electrified gas. This electrified gas became mixed with carbon or ash and formed a gas in the form that we know gas to be in. Helium was the form of atmosphere on the third planet. This helium was split by electric charges as planet Earth was brought into being. This combination of helium being shattered with electricity of a voltage so high we could not begin to understand it produced hydrogen. The hydrogen of our planet combined with the solidifying and evolvement of the mineral kingdom and produced neon gas. This combining took place in an orderly manner. The processes of evolution on each planet were incorporated into the atmosphere of the following planet and produced a different gas, which then in turn floated in the solar system and changed the original atmosphere of all the planets. These are what we call the active gases. When the planets were first born, the friction of birth continued building as they exploded up out of the black hole. The friction from coming up out of the black hole caused them to grow and expand, similar to a human being who will continue to grow and expand in physical proportions until they have reached the teenage years or the early 20s perhaps. Planets are exactly the same. The sun is exactly the same. They continue a proportionate amount of time as the amount of time that the 20s took out of the human life. The same proportionate amount of time is taken out of the life of the sun to continue growing and expanding in physical proportions. Now, as the human continues to grow and expand mentally, spiritually, and emotionally, so do the planets and the suns constantly grow, expand, and evolve spiritually, but not in physical size. As the human body begins its downward journey after reaching its peak, so do the planets and the sun. The physical form, once it has reached that peak, continues to deteriorate as the mind and the spiritual body continues to grow. There must come this separation stage. Humans call it death, as it also is called for the planets, the death of a star.
Our galaxy had the same beginning as all life in the universe. Humanity all has the same Oversoul Michael, the Creator God, so all are tied together this way. The Oversoul has his 12 levels, planets, of each solar system. Each individual soul on Earth has his 12 levels of each planet, 12 levels for each of the 12 mind dimensions to evolve through. The Oversoul must evolve through the 12 planets, which are the planes of progress for him, before he can exit this solar system. There is a network of communication among 3 solar systems and also a separate network between most planets in one solar system. The intricate workings of our telephone communication system may be a good comparison to the communication network of the galaxies. The universe is so large it is unfathomable. It frightens people to picture it this way, but they really need to be able to see and believe this. It should not make anyone feel useless or unneeded, as all are part of the energy lines, and without them, these energy lines are shorted out. This is why each spirit on each planet and each galaxy is vitally important to the overall energy line. They must all light up, so to speak, or that particular line of communication is dead until they do. Eventually they will. Picture each divine spark as a fiber that should glow in a fiber optic light. They are all needed for the beauty of the lamp to be complete. This is what is holding Earth back from plugging into this network of communications through its energy lines. The pass through the Oversoul, the Milky Way galaxy that our solar system revolves through, accounts for periods of great spiritual strides forward that humanity has taken, and for masses of people to open up to their inner being. This is the start of the fourth pass through the Oversoul. As people open up to assimilate these more powerful vibrations, they raise their own vibrations to their higher etheric selves and contact the real fourth dimension on the etheric level of the planet. They retain its beauty and color and high vibratory rate as they bring it into existence then on the earth plane, the exoteric plane. The unmanifested plane is the spiritual. The manifested plane is the physical. Both are etheric matter, divine, just a difference in vibratory rate.